Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of TV POV. I'm Jen.
And I'm Melissa.
We've got a little bit of a comedy special for you this week. We're going to be talking about what we think of the comedy crop so far this season. But first, as usual, tons of news. So let's get right into it.
We're going to start off with something that really put a damper on my entire week, as well as many other fans. Witches of East End was canceled after 2 seasons by Lifetime. Yes, ratings had been declining. It didn't do as good in the second season as it did in season 1, but at the same time, a lot of people assumed that this was like the new marquee show for Lifetime, and that seemed to be the direction they were going. And they only have one other returning series now, Devious Maid. So it seemed to come out of nowhere. And fans are taking to Twitter and setting petitions and everything. They've got the hashtag Renew Witches of East End going at the moment, and hoping that, you know, Lifetime may reconsider, which wouldn't be unheard of. They did bring back Drop Dead Diva after it was canceled, and I believe it came back for 2 more seasons.
It did, yeah.
So I won't give up hope yet, but in the meantime, I'm a little sad. Especially it ended on so many cliffhangers.
So no one really knows, I guess, what Lifetime's plan is. It'll be interesting to see, are they pulling back on scripted shows, going more in with a different type of scripted show, relying more on their reality properties? It's hard to say.
They do have 2 scripted shows in development right now. They're doing something that's based on Clan of the Cave Bear, I believe.
Right, yes.
And then they're doing, based on the movie that they did, the Lizzie Borden one, they're doing a limited series. So nothing ongoing.
No, so it's interesting. Maybe we'll have to wait and see what their plan is, and hopefully maybe those efforts will pay off.
I hope so. I really want a 3rd season. I have to see what happens. At the very least, Lifetime is good at TV movies. Give us a movie or a mini-series just to tie up those loose ends. There are rumors that there is a series that, I'm not sure if it's Lifetime that's looking at, but there's a book series, Melissa de la Cruz, who created Witches of East End, has a YA series connected to the books, and there's TV interest from that.
Okay.
So that may tie up some of the storylines, but we don't know if that'll even get picked up. We've got a couple of comedy cancellations by NBC. Bad Judge and A to Z have both been axed, but they will be allowed to continue filming the season. So they both have a 13-episode season, and all episodes will air. Bad Judge I didn't bother with. It didn't really look like something that would appeal to me, but I found A to Z really charming. It was a fun comedy. It was a neat concept going in, especially knowing that this relationship had a fixed life.
I didn't watch Bad Judge either because I heard such negative things about it, but A to Z, it never lived up to its promise for as far as I was concerned. I found it a little bit too cutesy. I just felt like it was very romantic, and it might have worked better as an hour-long dramedy, but as a half-hour comedy, I expect a little bit more bite and edge, and I didn't really get that from that show. So that's what made it, for me, a little bit harder to swallow, I think. But it's nice that they're gonna get to air the full 13. So maybe they know now they still have a couple more episodes to film. So hopefully they'll provide some type of an ending for fans.
Yeah.
Another cancellation, WeTV has canceled their first foray into scripted television, The Divide, after just 1 season. Now, I did not check this out. It was a legal drama, and it was created by Tony Goldwyn, who you guys might know as President Fitz on Scandal, and also from Ghost, man. He was the villain.
Oh, yeah.
That's the #1 place. So I can't say whether it was good or bad, but I guess it's disappointing for WeTV. I don't know if they're developing any more things or how much effort they're putting into scripted television, but that one was unfortunately not a success for them.
Initially, there was some buzz surrounding it, and it had a phenomenal cast and everything, but after the premiere, it was like no one knew what was going on. WeTV
it's very girly for the most part. That they have in the past been based only around reality and lifestyle shows, so it was an odd choice for them for a first scripted season. You can see Bravo is doing their first scripted series. We have yet to see how that does, but The Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce fits perfectly in with the type of show that Bravo airs.
Yeah.
Whereas The Divide, I don't think it really fit in with We's schedule, and it may be a case of we talk about how great it is that more people are getting into the scripted business, but there may be a certain point in which there's just too many options, and with the expense that goes into a scripted show, it's hard for a network to get into that business. So we'll have to see how some of the other networks similar to them do with that in the future, and if they come out with something else that fits a little bit better.
Yeah. We've got some renewals to talk about. First up, USA Network has given 2 more seasons to Royal Pains. It'll be 16 episodes, so 8 episodes per season. Royal Pains is one of the USA Network shows that I've never gotten into.
Me either.
I think I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes, and I mean, it's wasn't necessarily that I didn't like it. It was just, scheduling and having a lot on my plate, but good for them considering some of their other shows are wrapping up.
Downton Abbey has been renewed for a 6th season, which is great. I'm not sure how many episodes exactly, but usually they're fairly short seasons. So I just got into Downton Abbey. I'm only on season 2, so I'm excited that I'll just have more and more to catch up on, I guess.
And another renewal that came down today, which was super exciting for me, ABC Family has given a season 2 to Chasing Life.
Yay!
Which was one of those totally charming shows about a not so charming subject matter. Girl at the start of her career, she's really starting to go places as a journalist and finds out she has leukemia. Such a charming show, like so good, and just one of those ones that at the end of it all you're just it just leaves you with that feeling. And the star, Italia Ricci, who is from Toronto, it'll be back at Christmas for a Christmas episode, and then the remainder of season 1 in the new year. And now we know there'll be a season 2 coming up.
I'm excited for that. I haven't watched it yet, but I have a love affair with ABC Family. Other than Pretty Little Liars, which kind of isn't my thing, they do such good kind of family, really emotional shows. Switched at Birth and The Fosters, which
I love The Fosters.
The Fosters kills me. I am obsessed with it, and it hurts me so much in such a good way. We've also got a major return to announce. One of my favorite shows, which we knew was coming back, but now we have an official date for its 4th season. Heart of Dixie is going to come back on January 9th at 8 p.m. on the CW, which is a Friday. They used to be a Monday show, now they're going to be on Friday. It remains to be seen whether that will toll the death bell for them, especially considering this is a shortened season. Part of that might be because Rachel Bilson is pregnant, but it was never a huge ratings show to begin with. It's always been on the bubble. My sense is this could be the last season.
It is possible, but they have said that there is more story in it, and that there may be a Zoe pregnancy storyline. Not necessarily this season, but eventually. And Rachel Bilson did have her child today.
Well,
welcome to Briar Rose.
This that's a great name. Wow. And this Zoe pregnancy, this best be Wade related, because otherwise I'm throwing stuff. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, very excited to see that in the new year. Hopefully it isn't the last. If it is, hopefully they wrap it up well.
I'm really excited. That's one of my favorite shows.
Yes.
That was one that I started watching out of boredom on Christmas break and did not really expect to like it, and I was so charmed by it.
I love it when that happens. The Christmas break surprise charmer, I like to call it.
Yeah, it was. It became one of my favorite shows, and Wade Kinsella.
Oh my God.
What more do you need in life?
My God. Yes.
Although George is pretty sweet too.
He's okay for somebody else, not for Zoe. Just say, I love Scott Porter, but George and Zoe, no.
We've got some premiere dates. The series premiere of the very highly anticipated Agent Carter will be Tuesday, January 6th at 9/8 Central on ABC, and it'll be on CTV in Canada. This will actually take the slot from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. goes on hiatus, in the new year, Agent Carter will take their slot, and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. won't return until after the 8 episodes of Agent Carter.
It's a risky strategy.
So so we'll get lots of Peggy Carter and no more S.H.I.E.L.D. until March, which I am A-okay with.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. premiered last year, it had so much press behind it and so much positive buzz. And for a lot of people, I know, including you, it was a disappointment. There are some people who still love it. It kind of middles as like a mediocre rating show at the moment. It has gotten better, but it wasn't the big bang that everyone thought it would be. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Agent Carter, whether some people will be like, fool me once, not doing it again, or whether it starts with the same level of fanfare that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did, for sure.
Yeah.
We have another premiere date to announce, also on ABC, and this one is the very, very bizarre concept that I'm looking forward to, the musical comedy Gallivant, which involves a lot of singing and dancing by people in period costumes. So this is going to make its debut January 4th at 8 p.m. And again, this show, as I've said before, could go either way. It could be brilliant or it could be the worst thing to ever happen. So on January 4th, we will find out which one of those two things it is, and I personally cannot wait. I'm really curious to see how much promotion they give this show, and when they do start promoting it, how they're going to promote it. Because this, again, such a weird concept, and in a commercial you can't go, hey guys, seriously, let me explain this to you. So I'd really love to see what kind of marketing scheme they come up with to present this really goofy musical hour-long comedy.
Yeah, I'll have to wait and see what you think, and then maybe I'll check it out based on that.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
So we've got some shows in development and some pickups. The first one, which sounds so intriguing. Showtime is working on a series called Anthem. And the premise of it, apparently the pilot opens with a presidential election in the US. And by the end of the pilot, the country has been plunged into a second civil war. Kind of prophetic. I mean, in terms of the tone of everything that's going on in the US at the moment and how divided the country is with their politics and, the Tea Partiers and their, kind of radical views and everything. So it's not a completely far-fetched concept. They're working on it with a former Obama speechwriter, John Lovett, who some people will know from his work on 1600 Penn that didn't do so well.
I'm fascinated personally on how they're going to portray what a civil war would look like in modern times, because how scary is that, right?
Yeah, the weapons are different. I mean, the last time there was a civil war was muskets. It was, there weren't nuclear weapons. There weren't, GPS. They could obliterate each other if something like this were to happen in this day and age. Yeah. It's a scary concept.
It's a terrifying and yet fascinating concept for a show, and let's hope it stays fiction. DirecTV is developing a romance drama by Neil LaBute, which is called Billy and Billy. That's Billy with a Y and Billy with an I-E. And it is about two step-siblings who fall in love, which is a fascinating subject, and a lot of people have been referring to it as an incest drama.
What's really cool is who's being cast in it. We've got Adam Brody in the lead.
Yes.
So I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm not on board with referring to it as an incest drama. I mean, it's not Flowers in the Attic.
No.
And step-siblings aren't blood relatives, so...
It's true, but I think it's just people look at it like...
It's taboo.
Is it a Cher and Josh situation from Clueless, in which case, awesome. I mean, come on, they live together for like 5 seconds, they're both hot, it's cool. But yeah, if I grew up with someone as a toddler and went through all of my awkward stages with them and then decided to make out with them, that to me would be weird. So maybe that's a great thing to explore, obviously. Yeah. Maybe that's part of what they're exploring.
And I think a big part of it is them keeping it a secret and deciding how they're going to tell their friends and loved ones that they are in love with each other. Sci-Fi seems to be in the Arthur C. Clarke business once again. They are adapting a sequel to 2001, A Space Odyssey, is that what they call it?
Yeah,
I'm going to be I've never seen it. I should remedy that. I've never seen the film, I've never read the book, but they're going to be, Sci-Fi is going to be adapting 3001, The Final Odyssey. It's going to be a mini-series brought to us by Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
So very, very promising.
Definitely. I mean, I haven't seen the movie either, and I know it's on so many people's best of lists. I mean, we've been talking about how much sci-fi is developing, and apparently they are really trying to turn around, not that the network has been doing badly, but that they realized that ever since Battlestar Galactica, they kind of abandoned these ambitious space-related, really high-end dramas for more easier fare that had, you know, sci-fi elements but was a little more episodic and like your Eurekas and your Warehouse 13s and Alphas and stuff like that. So with some of their shows ending and realizing that they've missed out on the opportunity that a lot of other broadcasters have picked up on to do these big epic shows of the quality of Battlestar Galactica, that's where they're going, and this is one. This plus them doing Childhoods and the other Arthur C. Clarke property that they're doing, and Ascension.
Yeah,
these
I'm
are all
so excited for Ascension.
This spells a new era for sci-fi, which I'm very excited about.
And Killjoys, which they've also got, that'll be airing on it. I believe later in 2015, which is a co-production with Space in here in Canada, which is a really good like sci-fi about intergalactic bounty hunters.
Yeah.
So they seem to be going back to their space sci-fi roots.
Yeah. AMC has picked up a miniseries called The Night Manager, starring, Melissa's already doing the dance of joy. Starring Tom Hiddleston, who we all know as Loki from the Marvel franchise, but also is kind of a big TV star and movie star in Britain anyway.
And in everyone's lives.
He's already the king of our hearts, yes. Okay,
yes.
So.
If you have not seen Only Lovers Left Alive, please do yourself a favor. Once you finish watching us, go and watch that movie. It is beautiful.
And this Night Manager also stars Hugh Laurie, which is a big deal for various other reasons. I mean, this is really his first major return to television since House, which he obviously kicked major butt in. It's about a hotel night auditor, so a night manager who comes into conflict with kind of a black market dealer.
It sounds like there's maybe a spy or espionage or military angle to it because Hiddleston is a former soldier, and it's based on a novel by John le Carré, who did like the Russia House and all of those. Like,
I'm not familiar with his work.
He was huge in the 80s and late 80s, early 90s, even earlier than that. But he's well known in, you know, kind of the spy type world. Yeah. So I think it sounds really promising, and a miniseries.
Yes, so, it is a miniseries.
Yeah.
For fans of Pretty Little Liars, some big news. The executive producer of that, Marlene King, is developing another one of Sarah Shepard's books. She's the author of the Pretty Little Liars series, and it will also be for ABC Family. It's called The Perfectionists, and it involves another group of mischievous teenagers, because clearly Sarah Shepard and Marlene King have cornered the market on teenage crime. So this perfectionist concept is about a group of teenagers who make a very elaborate plot to murder this man in their lives who is turning all their lives upside down. It doesn't really say exactly. I haven't read the book, so I don't know what it is that he's doing to them. But what ends up happening is the man gets murdered in exactly the way they planned it, but they didn't do it. Woo!
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't really get closer to Pretty Little Liars than this concept.
Now that we've talked about some of the headlines, here are some of the latest casting choices that are on our radars.
My favorite is actually a guest starring role that's coming up, and Julia Stiles is going to be guest starring on my favorite comedy, The Mindy Project.
Ooh.
Yeah, she's going to be playing a love interest from Morgan, which...
What does that mean for Tamara?
I know. Do we have a cute name for Morgan and Tamara yet? Morgana? To Morgan? Either one.
I don't know.
Actually, those are both very catchy. Morgana or to Morgan. Hopefully it's just a love interest. It could just be a flirtation or something like that. But what I like about it is that her character is playing a recovering hoarder, which given the writing on that show could be pretty funny. And I have always liked Julia Stiles, so I'm excited to see that. It's a 3-episode guest star arc at this point.
That's so cool. I love Julia Stiles. I've loved her since like 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's some exciting news. My favorite is another Justified casting announcement. As you know, it's the final season. Jeff Fahey, who was on Lost, you'll know he was Lapidus.
The pilot.
Exactly.
The second pilot, not the dad.
Yeah, not the original one, the second one. He's been cast for a multi-episode arc on Justified. He's going to be playing a character named Zachariah Randolph, who is described as a man in his 60s who's weathered and shaky, but he knows his way around the mine. And he's an old coot from the hill country.
I love that. That's a good one.
That's been beaten down by hardship and drink. So he's a typical Harlan Countier. I'm excited about that. They'd already announced some other casting, Garrett Dillahunt, which I was really excited about. So more excitement for the final season of Justified.
Yeah, and Jeff Fahey seems like he would make a fantastic old coot.
Yeah.
This week, we decided that we would focus on comedies and do a little special to talk about how we think the season is going so far, because we're well into the new season now.
Yeah.
Everything's pretty much aired, almost 5 episodes, 6 episodes in some cases. So if you had to pick, 2 returning comedy shows, what would your favorites be? These are ones that have been around, but like this season, you're loving them still.
For me, it would have to be the Mindy Project, because every week is winning. Hashtag winning. And not in the other sense, but in the true sense of winning all TV. Also, The League.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The League, you'd think they might have lost some steam by this point, but they are continuing to keep the storylines fresh and exciting and hysterical. And just when you think they couldn't sink to a lower level for laughs, but they do it in the best possible way, they go even darker. There's a whole episode where the female lead, Jenny, gets mistaken as having breast cancer.
Oh my god!
And her brother-in-law has these pink Mardi Gras beads that he starts throwing at women for breast awareness.
Oh my god!
Because he loses the cancer in the translation. So they take some really dark subjects, but they make you laugh about them. And I mean, it's kind of treading lightly, but sometimes, that gallows humor is what gets you through certain things. And that episode was absolutely hysterical. They've had one of the characters dealing with low testosterone. They've had another who's in a really abusive relationship with his cat. Yes.
I haven't watched The League, and this sounds rather disturbing to me, but in a good way. What season are they on right now?
This is 6 or 7.
That's
I think this
pretty
is 7.
good.
And
usually people do tend to drop off a little at that point.
I mean, what's really great about this is that they keep it current in terms of what's happening with the NFL, because at the heart of the show, it's about people with a fantasy football league.
Yes.
But it's about so much more than football. But it's improv. Like, they have the ideas and then they develop it from there. So that's why it always has that fresh element to it. So it is still one of my absolute favorite comedies. I die laughing every week.
My 2 favorites, again, The Mindy Project. We agree on that. It's in its 3rd season now, and so far it's been the strongest of all the seasons, and it was really strong last season, so that's saying a lot. But every episode, I'm blown away by how tight the writing is and how every, you want to say joke, but the truth is, in a show like that, it's almost not joke. It's but every bit, every line, every scene that they've structured so carefully just hits, and it's so. Yeah, it's so tight and so smart, and it just kills me every week. And I love watching comedies in their 3rd year, because I always feel like that's almost the best year for any, especially a network comedy, because they start off in the 1st season and they're funny, but they're finding their way, and the characters are finding their way, and it's a little bit hit and miss. The 2nd season, mostly like halfway through, that's when it gets kicked into overdrive, and they really start to develop their own thing. And so it's such a joy to watch the Mindy Project now at probably what will be the peak of its humor. And of course, Danny Chris Messina, who we did our TV MVP on, has taken a larger role since, probably midway through the second season, with the romance between him and Mindy, and that pairing makes the show brilliant to watch. All of the characters have really come into their own, and they all have something special to offer. Characters like Tamara, even Morgan, who I initially wasn't a big fan of, and I'm doing it again, the British doctor. What is that British doctor's name? Jeremy, thank you. I swear he's funny, I just have a thing with his name. I just call him British doctor.
Now you have me doubting if I have his
no,
name
it is.
right.
It's Jeremy. Once you said it, I was right. But so he's got his own thing, so I just love that.
I like the addition of Peter too.
Of course, yeah. We didn't even talk about that.
And he's been fantastic. And I mean, I loved him on Happy Endings, and I was so sad when that show ended.
For sure.
But he's been doing he's had a really neat arc on the show. Also, bringing Danny and Mindy together, and then bringing Danny's family into it. The casting of his mother couldn't have been more perfect.
Oh my
Rhea
God.
Perlman as what's her name? Annette? Is it
Yes.
Annette Castellano?
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And she hasn't been in every episode, but in each one, there's been like these really interesting, the two women in Danny's life. Coming together and butting heads and everything.
So solid.
Yeah.
Such a solid show. It's one I have to watch right away. And my second is Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I don't know if you watch.
Yes.
But again, second season, so it's really, it's starting to find its footing. I'm really loving, I was one of the, last year, Captain Holt. It took me a while to warm up to his character. Which is funny because his character is like the complete opposite of warm. But I mean, they cast Andre Braugher in this really unconventional role, and the goal was that he was going to be completely stone-faced, but it would be funny. And sometimes it worked, and I feel like sometimes it didn't. But they've really started to develop that more, and it's working. There was an episode with him and Kyra Sedgwick this season where she was like the female equivalent of him, and their dialogue just killed me. They were saying I can't even describe it. You'd have to watch it, but just the almost the lack of banter between the two of them was hysterical. I like that Jake is now sort of openly crushing on Amy. Characters like Gina, who I actually found really annoying in the first season, I am starting to love her as well.
I love Chelsea Peretti.
I'm loving that she was knocking boots, as they said, knocking boots with Charles, who again, they've really developed him more too. Again, it's just it's that honeymoon period with these shows. And it's really exciting to see that actually it's thriving in its new time slot, which is in the middle of the Sunday comedies. So Fox, for the longest time, has had sort of a pure animation domination lineup on Sunday, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine joined that. It fits into the Family Guy Simpsons audience, which is great because last year it was kind of like one of those middling shows that surprised a lot of people by being critically acclaimed. And now hopefully it means that it's safe for a third season. I would hope things are looking good.
It's got a fantastic cast.
Oh God.
It just gets funnier by the week.
Absolutely.
And some of those characters that in the first season that weren't necessarily, standouts this season I love Rosa. I think Rosa's just so crazy. She's like this badass chick, but once in a while she shows this little vulnerable side.
Although, of course, I forgot to mention the incomparable Terry Crews.
Oh
my God, the vasectomy episode.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I should have done a TV MVP just about that because he blew me away. Talk about playing against type, This is a man who looks like the world's biggest badass, and yet he is so gifted at comedy, and it's such a joy to see. What about the new crop of comedies? We've had a lot of failures so far in terms of being canceled. Were there any that stick out for you that you're sticking with?
Marry Me. Partially because I miss Happy Endings a lot, and they use the same font in the opening credits.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yes, I noticed that, and it made me sad for a moment and then happy again. Casey Wilson and Ken Marino together are magic. Mm-hmm. I've loved Ken Marino for years. Casey Wilson since her SNL days. So I was excited to see them paired up. It didn't start off the strongest. Like, it took a couple of episodes for me to like it. And then as of the Halloween episode, I am so on board. I love this pair. I love what they're going through. The cast of characters around them, although they don't really make sense, they're starting to fall into place.
Yeah.
So I think this one has potential, and NBC thinks it has potential too, because they've ordered 5 more episodes, bringing the order up to 18 for the season.
It is one of my favorite new comedies as well, and I do agree that the pairing between Casey Wilson and Ken Marino is rather genius, and it's not one that I ever would have thought of out of the blue. Like, if somebody said, who would you pair Casey Wilson with, I would have trouble. I might come up with a couple names, but Ken Marino would not, for some reason, just wouldn't have. And it worked so well. My favorite episode so far has been the one where she went to live in her car because she was too chicken to admit that she was nervous about moving in with her fiance.
Ooh, charcuterie? I cracked up in that part.
It was the lengths that she went to, the charcuterie, getting the drapes for the car, and her lack of ability, which again is the thing Casey Wilson does so well, to clue into her own craziness until it's far too late. The lovely obliviousness she has to how bizarre her behavior is. That episode really killed me. So yeah, there's definite potential in that show, and it's only getting better. When a show starts off this strong, next season at this time, hopefully next season, it'll be a Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We'll be talking about how solid it is.
I hope so.
Yeah, for sure. I actually have another comedy that is one of my favorites too.
Really?
I do. I am in love with Selfie.
Really?
Yes. I know. I almost feel embarrassed admitting it, but not enough that I'm not going to. It is perfect for me. The first episode was much better than I thought it was going to be. And of course, there's so much vitriol and hatred towards this show just based on its name. But the interesting thing is that really the show is, they marketed it the wrong way because the show wants to be on the side of those people. The show is for people who are sick of social networking and who are sick of all of that stuff and who think that it's funny. I think the dynamic between Karen Gillan and John Cho is just getting better every week. It's such an unlikely pairing. And what started off in the pilot as more of a lecture towards the Eliza character, basically being a social media whore and not having any friends, actually has become kind of a dual learning process between John Cho's character Henry and Eliza. He's learning how not to be so isolationist and to open himself up to new things. There was a really funny episode where he experienced what we all experienced in 2007 and got sucked into a 24-hour Facebook binge. And yet she's learning these things at the same time. I know this show is going to get canceled. I'm prepared for it. It's not doing well and enough people hate it, but I'm happy to have it around while it's still here because I've been very, very surprisingly charmed by it.
I didn't watch Beyond. I was also surprised by the first episode. I totally expected to hate watch it. I ended up watching it a couple times, but for some reason I just haven't been watching the subsequent episodes. But I am planning to catch up on it soon. I'm glad to hear that dynamic kind of changed going in, because that was kind of the one thing I didn't really like, that it was you're doing this wrong, and it was like woman bad, man good. I kind of got a bit of that vibe in the first episode, so I'm gonna.
Oh, and that's changed so much. In fact, one of the more recent episodes was pretty much all about how much she brought to his life and how she made him a less stuffy person who is able to experience new things. It has become more of a learning process about what it means to kind of live in a world in which all of these things exist. Social media, this sort of 15 minutes of fame type thing, and modern technology, and how you balance that.
And before we call this episode a wrap, we have got a TV MVP, someone that we absolutely think has been killing it and is worthy of our praise and adoration.
Hell yeah.
Drum roll, please. Our TV MVP is Gina Rodriguez, Jane the Virgin.
Absolutely.
Without a question.
This show is brilliant, first of all. And it would be brilliant, I think, either way, but they have cast the absolute perfect girl in this show. She just inhabits the role. I won't even say she's playing it. She inhabits it. She's charming, she's funny, she's sexy, she's dorky, she's romantic, she's kind of old-fashioned and yet modern at the same time. I think I'm running out of adjectives.
She's putting a really, really human spin on a really outrageous storyline, and we're buying it.
Oh, we're buying it. I'm buying it.
Which is so fantastic. I mean, when I first heard the premise of this show, I was fully prepared to not like it. I'm like, girl who gets accidentally artificially inseminated? Oh my god, how stupid.
Which where I was just like, that sounds silly. I love it.
And it has become, not even just one of my new favorite shows, but this may become one of my favorite CW shows ever.
There are also so many authentic moments to the show, and she really helps bring that out. She has such great chemistry with all the other actors, and she finds little ways to connect with them. The mother-daughter dynamic is fantastic. The grandmother-daughter dynamic. The chemistry between, well, I'm on Team Raphael, I'm gonna say that. So the chemistry between her and Raphael is sizzling. But even then, she has a special dynamic with Michael as well. You know, this is an actress who has been known a little bit in the independent film world, but not on television at this point, and she is just blowing me away. I love how she's very, very gorgeous, but they cast someone who also has a unique look as well. It's not like your typical kind of sultry sex pot who they could put in a role like this. Nor is it your standard girl next door who looks super innocent. She just has this really very unique and kind of cool look to her, and she does really good, like very small things, like physicality. When she runs down the hall in that outfit that she has with the heels, you know, when she had the mermaid tail on in the premiere and she had to kind of shuffle around, she plays those just so well. She just has this dynamic that I'm so charmed by, I'm so drawn to.
Yeah, she is. I mean, the entire cast of this show is fantastic, but she's definitely the standout, and a lot of the successes or failures of this show lie strictly on her shoulders.
Yeah,
and she is doing such a phenomenal job. She's creating this wonderful character who's going through conveying all of these like conflicting emotions. Like, she's so in love with her fiance, but now she's starting to develop feelings for the father of the baby. She is just owning it.
She absolutely is, and I can't wait to see more for her. The show has a full season. The ratings are not as good as they could be. So everybody go out and watch this. Watch this for Gina Rodriguez. Watch this for every reason under the sun, because it's brilliant. But we really need to see more of Gina in this show, so keep watching.
Most definitely. Gina, we salute you.
Well, I think that's our show for this week. I hope you've enjoyed all the news as usual, and our special look at comedy, and of course our tribute to the fabulous Gina Rodriguez. Please continue to check out the website at www.watchtvpov.com.
Yes.
And we'll have more segments and stuff up soon.
Yeah, and if you want to get in touch with either of us on Twitter, I'm at the Televixen.
And I'm at Kit Couch Potato.
We will see you guys all again next week.
Bye.
Bye.